We are live. Welcome back to the Fantom Podcast. It is on week here at Ultimate Fitness. It's been a crazy week. Just got back from the expo and with the 1990 Arnold Classic champion, Sugar Shawn Ray. Sean, welcome to the Fantom Podcast.
I got to correct you. It's 1991. Well, officially 1990 with an asterisk.
Two-time Arnold Classic champion and obviously Hall of Fame bodybuilder. Sean, it's an honor to have you here today. But we've been meaning to get you on for a while and we were going to do it remotely, but obviously whilst you're here, we're going to
take advantage of that situation and get in a room together and
why not
shoot the shit.
So did you enjoy this Birmingham Expo compared to
the expo? Yeah, no, the expo wasn't too bad. I mean, it was smaller than it was in Ohio, but I think the people showed up, especially yesterday. You could barely move.
So Sean's with Mutants Supplements, who kindly brought him over, and also Builder Pros. Do you want to talk about your involvement with Mutants?
Yeah, so I got with Mutant 3 years ago. We were going, COVID was coming. We didn't know what to call it at the time, but a couple of weeks before, another supplement company pulled out of being the title sponsor of the Arnold Classic when Arnold said, screw your freedoms, right? Everybody had an opinion. And if you said the wrong thing, you're on that side. If you said this thing, you're on that side. And did you get vaccinated or, you're Republican, you're Democrat? The whole world was turning upside down as we were heading into the Arnold. And I put in a call to the promoter, Brian Powers. And I said, hey, man, I'm with a company that wants to play ball. We want to get in and be a part of what's happening.
How long had you been with Mutant previously?
I was going into like 6 months.
Okay.
But I had this established relationship with the Arnold. I'd emceed it for like 8 or 9 years and been affiliated with it since it actually started. So I was able to pick up the phone and make the call. I said, look, give us a sweetheart deal so we can support what you're doing. Pick up the slack from your title sponsor that just pulled out. And at some point, we'll be on an even playing field. The world will be right again and we'll come in at full tilt. And sure enough, 2 years later, we came back. And this year, it's like we had the biggest presence. And the owner and the CEO, Jim McMahon, one of his big ideas was like just to smoke a cigar and meet Arnold. And next thing you know, here's Jim on stage with Arnold, is receiving this Conan the Barbarian sword. I mean, and it just seemed like those two seemed like old friends once they came together. And I think that this is a relationship now that's going to kind of blossom into something that's more than what we initially started out. Because when you walk through the expo at the Arnold, Mutant advertising was everywhere. Yeah. Not to mention, we got Andrea Shaw and Sean Clarita.
You introduced me to Jim, and he's a great guy. He's a massive bodybuilding fan, like you said.
Huge.
And you could tell he's got that passion, and he was excited to meet all the fans. But he was sitting watching the finals with us on the side. We didn't have a seat, did we?
Yeah, we were standing there.
We kept on getting in and out.
He's all some 400-pounder sitting in my seat, so I'm going to hang out with you guys. No, he's got his feet, squarely on the ground. He's a big fan, which is a huge asset to being a major player in this industry, much like Jake Wood.
Yeah.
Jake Wood, he single-handedly resurrected the women's bodybuilding because he's a fan of the sport, but he's infused a lot of money and support, and the athletes are giving it all back. And with Jim McMahon being able to bring on athletes and be able to put these products in over 100 countries, he's been doing it since 2005. I'm just one of the latest guys on board to see this vision that he's got going on. And we just brought Bob Ciccarillo on board now, the voice of bodybuilding.
Shout out to Bob.
Big Bob is in the house. And we're going to be there at the Olympia on full display. We're going to be in Germany in FIBO in a month over there. So doing big things. Big things.
So do you still like, I mean, you've been in the industry how long, Sean?
Yeah.
5 years?
I was 17 years old when I came in. I'm 58.
Do you still enjoy going around the world, meeting fans? I mean, today, I was Sean's photographer today, and everywhere we were going, he was getting stopped. Still, still got a big fan base.
It's a nice buzz.
Yeah.
Do you
ever get sick of it? Or?
Yeah, I'm watching the transition of the new people coming in because I was looking at the Instagrammers, right? Insta famous YouTube guys, and I'm still trying to get my hand around what the novelty is, but it's working for them because whatever it is, they're monetizing it, and the people are showing up for them. And rather than fight it, who's that guy? Who's that guy? I'm embracing it. What they're doing is helpful to our sport. Yeah. Whether they're competitors or whether they have a long pedigree, people are following these influencers, and I'm kind of intrigued by how they're doing it. My daughter's an influencer as well. But being a veteran, I've done the work. My body of work speaks for itself. So I get a kick at a 50-year-old man coming up with his 20-year-old son going, my son doesn't know who you are, but I've been telling him I followed your career. And so it's nice to leave those breadcrumbs for those guys to continually kind of pay it forward. And I show up because I know my impact on the sport. And I'm growing old with like Dorian and Lex and with Ronnie and with Kevin, and these guys are still here. It doesn't feel like work for me. I'm working with a supplement company. I'm working on doing the build with pros. where it's a personal training mentor. Kind of I spew all my knowledge out and give it all back as a coach.
Put all the links in the description box so you can get in touch with the pros and mutant supplements.
So I've been saying I can't take that wisdom with me, so I'm putting it out there. So the new guys coming up, you'd be surprised how many people go, I watch your videos on YouTube, young kids. So I started regurgitating a lot of stuff that I did, realizing that 30 years ago, these kids weren't in the game, and they're coming up, and I've got to give them access to what once was. So yeah, I still love coming to this stuff, and it's in my blood. I'll be here. All you have to do is take a look at Arnold. 76 years old, and he's still walking the expos. Without him, we're not here. So I feel like I have that kind of longevity. I feel like I have that kind of passion and energy that I want to see what happens in the next 20, 30 years.
I think it's great still since like Shawn, Kevin today. Obviously, Dorian was still there. Chris Cormier the weekend.
Yeah.
He was having these old school names. And people need to realize the history of the sport, what these people brought. If it wasn't for them, the Mr Olympia, we wouldn't have what we have now.
Yeah.
So now there's so many more avenues for people to be exposed to bodybuilding at its core. So you've got modern influencers, you've got guys like yourself whose body of work speaks for itself, competing for 20, 30 years, whatever it may be, been involved in the supplement side of things, in the business side of things. More importantly, I think yourself, guys like Kevin, Dorian, you all have personalities people gravitate towards.
Some people have developed their personalities more since then.
Yeah. Whereas a lot of people get forgotten because when they're outside the weight room, what can they offer to someone except for 10 minutes of motivation? When it comes to their personality or what they've moved on from or what they've built while they're coexisting with their career, is what stands out. I think that's one thing that brings you and keeps you in the game, keeps you grounded too.
Keeps you current as well, I think.
Yeah.
People gravitate towards you because, number one, you're honest, which is polarizing in such a shitty world.
True.
Everything's plastic, right?
Yeah.
Everything. People are too scared to say what they think because they might, such and such. But you're in a position where your body of work speaks for itself, so people respect you based on what you've done and what you're still doing. Yeah, which is why I think you're still one of the guys at the top.
Love him or hate him, what I mean? But
well, listen, I mean, at the end of the day, I had reverence for Chris Dickerson and for Frank Zane and Arnold coming up as a bodybuilder, watching on television on NBC Worldwide Sports as they talked about bodybuilding. These were the experts because they did that. They went through the amateurs, Mr. Universe, Mr. America, Mr. Olympia, and when you hear them commentate on the younger guys coming up, the younger guys can appreciate that as opposed to a guy that's never been on a diet, a guy that's never been on stage, a guy that's never really been into a weight room. So I'm taking all the stuff that I learned and I'm trying to make sure I give it back. And I try to be delicate in certain ways, but I got this rough edge about me where I just
I'm going to say what you see, right?
I say what I see, and then you can deal with it. We are in a society where everybody has a fan base, everybody has the cancel culture capability, and you win fans and you lose fans that way. But I'm here to try to help these guys get to where I was at by telling them what they need to hear. Yep. And so I'm okay with the haters coming around, but at the same time, you can't get better if you don't know what you need to work on. So I tell the truth. I would rather you tell me my hamstrings are small.
And it's not a personal attack. It's you're giving constructive criticism.
Yeah, and I don't have time to quantify my opinion. I'm here to give my opinion, get paid for my opinion. Yeah. Here it is.
You stand on stage in your underpants. You got to be open to criticism, whatever's coming.
Exactly. That's what what the competitive side of the sport is judged on. Is a critique of your physique. It's not a critique of your personality. And if it was, I'm sure a lot more people would.
Well, you know what? In this digital age, what we have is the ability for fans, friends, and coaches to give a rebuttal to the critique. Yeah. When I was critiquing way back when, I say what I say, it's recorded, that's it. But now you can instantaneously go and comment on how that critique is coming out. I've seen guys that are watching videos of the Olympia, as myself and Dan Solomon or Bob Chick were doing the commentary, and they're critiquing what we're saying, which is kind of ridiculous because we're not on the stage to begin with. So, and that happens in basketball now. I see some of the athletes, when you have the commentators talking about a person's play or their contribution to the team, and the players can go to their thing and go, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And, because they're not actively playing and they're not getting paid millions of dollars, they discount what the reporters are saying. So that's kind of the cancel culture we live in, but it is what it is.
Do you think having social media sort of ruined things?
No, I think it's better. Listen, it's way more inclusive than having a magazine. When I wrote for the magazines, the reporter would call me up, take dictation, or send me the questions, and I would have to try to do a shorthand and send it back, and they'd be at their typewriters, going way back. Now you get this instantaneous feedback. We're reaching more people. Our sport is not dying because all you have to do is go to an expo, look around and the engagements that people have. I think Chris Bumstead has like 20 million followers.
24 now.
Yeah.
Now, the magazine publication used to be maybe 250,000 in print, right? So you just limited amount of resources. And then when you had that magazine, it got passed around the gym, right? That's how it kind of went viral. Now you make one post and you hit all these millions of people and they get reposted. And we have the ability to get on a microphone and go live from wherever the hell we're at in the world. And we're so much more inclusive. Brazil, Iran, all these other countries that we couldn't reach before. I remember I used to be in the magazines and do an article, and that article from January would come out in April or March, right? So it's late, it's old news. When I failed the test at the Arnold in 1990, I was already training for the 90 Mr. Olympia in May when that news from March started to hit the people are kind of, it's such a delay that I didn't even have time to digest that I'd failed the drug test. I'm like, I'm getting ready to take another one, so the instant gratification from seeing something, commenting on it, and reaching we're all accessible. I can get a message from John Doe tomorrow and it's right there on my phone. I can send back a smiley face or I can write them an article. So it's much more inclusive.
I'm trying to think back, back in the day, say late 80s, 90s, how we got information around. I mean, I remember when we went to seminar, we'd see a poster in our local gym.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you came to UK, and everything was so slow back then, wasn't it? And when Dorian would win the Olympia, people would ring Temple Gym.
Find out
where did Dorian come?
Yeah, it's like anticipation, like Christmas. You're waiting for it.
Yeah. But I sort of lied them time because it made the pros more not so accessible. They were sort of mystique, and they were like movie stars.
Superstars, 100%.
Go to a seminar and you'd save your money and you go to kill people and you'd be sort of in all these people. But now you can sort of drop them at the end.
See, we can appreciate it because we lived in those times. So you got to remember, like when I come to these expos and I'm freely moving through, or I'm standing at a booth for someone to come take a picture, the volume's not there compared to a young guy like Chris Bumstead, right? But there is that person that comes through and goes, man, I used to see you back in the day, and that impact that I'm having on that one individual is worth being there. Yeah. I don't need to have a million people standing around. I give my pictures away. I used to sell them. So, when you think about how a bodybuilder made a living back then, we made 8x10s, we had posters, we had clothing, and that was how our income was derived. And now we're giving stuff away. We're running specials on our Instagram. Hey, like, follow, and repost, and win this, that, and the third. We're giving away more than we're actually bringing in. And I can understand that being older now, like the impact that I have on these guys that are grown men. They come up and tell me how much they appreciate what I did when I did it. It's worth coming.
Well, the guys that had both photos taken today, they were like in their 50s, early in the late 40s. So they appreciate it. They probably were watching you when they were in their 20s.
Yeah, and I get a kick out of hearing it. I mean, I lived it. So to have those reminders, these guys are telling me, I went to a seminar of yours in Leeds back in 1989. I'm thinking, holy crap, it's taking me back. And my life is being rerun and replayed over and over again. So for me, it's worth coming 10 hours across the Atlantic Ocean, from the Pacific.
Well, you do a lot of traveling, Shawn. You travel the world a lot. You were always in a different city, country every month. Has the last 30 years gone quick?
It's gone so fast. I mean, I have an 18-year-old daughter at home, and my 15-year-old's turning 16, and my oldest is 42. Grandfather of 3. I look back, and it's just a blur. The first time I was here was in 1989. I remember it because that's when that plane crash, Lockerbie. I went to Scotland that year. And I think about like Kerry Kay's bringing me over and going to Nottingham with that. What was that Muscle Mag, British version of Muscle Mag that was on?
Muscle Mag International.
Yeah. I mean, this was one of the countries I traveled the most when I first turned pro, because we didn't fly in England. We landed in London and we drove everywhere, right? All the way up to Scotland, and I flew over to Ireland, and still coming back after all these years and meeting people that I met is very personable, because they tell me who I was, what I did, what I said, and I'm like, I love it. I get a kick out of it.
And also, did you do your last guest spot in Manchester?
Actually,
2000.
It was the second to last. A good memory, though. That was in 2001.
Yeah, with British Grand Prix.
I went back one more time to guest pose in 2002. I went to Okinawa, Japan.
But you'd retired by then?
I did retire. I didn't publicly say it.
Okay.
I was retired in my mind. But I went one more
you were still
time to guest.
Good shape. You were still like,
yeah. But that was that Manchester I was here? Came from Ireland.
21, yeah, because I competed at did Manchester.
Was Dorian the MC?
Yes, you did. Yeah, him and Kerry. Yeah.
I remember. I think I stayed at his house. I remember I tried to steal the Sandow trophy. I put it in my bag, and right when I was leaving, my conscience, I had to give it back to him. But I think I had that sucker for 5 minutes.
So you knew 2001 that was going to be your last.
I did. I knew that at the press conference. If you haven't seen that on YouTube and you watch it, you'll know that I was about as honest as you can be. And I just had a moment of clarity that, like, I'd gone as far as I can go, and Ronnie Coleman was going to go on to win 4 more Olympias at that time. And that's the only reason I was competing, was to win.
Yep.
But I realized that wasn't going to happen.
Is that why you never did other shows?
100%.
Yeah. You had one Arnold Classic win the Ironman. So did you ever win Night with the Champions?
No, that was my rookie debut. I was 4th place, but I had only wanted to be Mr. Olympia. I never wanted to be Mr. Tampa or Mr. Germany or anything. And I made sure I did the business of bodybuilding. So when my Olympia was over, I had these tours I would set up, and I'd be gone for 2 months at a time, and I'd be posing every week. And for me, it was like, if it was about making money, I was making more money than the guys that were doing these 2-week tours without brutalizing my body. I mean, I wanted to do as little damage to my body as I could. So I was literally just doing cardio in between guest posing appearances. And I would be off. When the Olympia's over in September, I would be off until December. After Christmas, I'd start ramping it back up again.
You were smart. You were sort of looking ahead in the future, how I could monetize your exit out of sport. And
100%. Yeah. And I think that's what saved my body, because I was like, I loved what I did. I didn't want to ruin that. And when I came out of bodybuilding, I didn't want to keep doing bodybuilding to that degree. 1, I wasn't getting paid. 2, the only thing that was waiting for me was an injury.
And also, we see bodybuilders around similar age, and their bodies are battered. They're sort of, we're sitting around the expos.
Yeah.
It's sad to see, isn't it?
It is, because I can see, for me, common sense says, like, I wanted to be a football player. When football season was over, I walk around banging my head against somebody. I'm not tackling people. I'm not, doing the brutality of what it takes to play football. But bodybuilders, even when they're done, you can see them on Instagram. They're still doing the same thing. There is this compulsive, addictive type behavior we have to looking and feeling a certain way. But I did this as a profession. I wanted to be the best in the world. When that was over, that type of intensity was over. So I dialed it back, and I exercise. I don't train.
How did it feel like looking so good, being like an Olympian caliber physique, to looking stop and train? Yeah.
I never really looked.
Did it not bother you?
No, I never looked in the mirror at myself with admiration when my career was over, because I knew if you don't use it, you lose it. And at the end of the day, like, I'm not looking, I'm fat piece of crap. Well, if I'm not doing my sit-ups, I'm not doing my cardio, not eating, chicken, fish, and egg whites, I know why I don't look a certain way. But I never felt like, I never felt like I wasn't an athlete. I always felt like at any given moment I could run. I could always do it again if I wanted to. And I never really was motivated to do it again, other than like after my kids, after a couple of years, I go, I'm going to get in shape. I did these quiet little 6-week runs where I would slowly bring my carbs down. I'd clean up my diet, and I would kind of lean out a little bit. So you'd see pictures of where I'm kind of up and down, but that was me trying to find my way after a life of eat, sleeping, and training for 20 years. 17 to 35 was nonstop, right? And then I had the kids, and then after the kids, when I figured, now I have a little bit more time to myself, I got back into the routine of exercise. And now it's just more cardio and ride my bike.
Do you miss the days when you were training for competition?
That's what I lived for. Yeah. Training for competition. I didn't care for the contest itself.
A lot of bodybuilders say that. It was the prep, the actual stage, because it's totally different, isn't it?
Totally different, man. I used to have so many good challenges in the gym, fighting with my training partners and trying to make this one throw up and trying to make this one quit and trying to do more reps than him. I was never in there trying to challenge the strength, but I was always trying to make a guy quit on the workout. And that challenge you can't get anywhere else.
Tell the listeners some of the training partners you've had over the years.
Well, I mean, I trained with a lot of people. The one I used to beat the crap out of is Flex Wheeler, and I love that because he just wasn't built for training hard. He was a gift. I mean, this
Flex,
guy.
You listening to this?
He knows. He remembers the workouts, and he's got the money to show for it.
Chris says the same thing as well. Chris Coleman said the same thing about Flex.
Yeah, and Chris will show up for the fight, but he would never motivate you. Like Chris wasn't a guy that's going to be a rah guy in your ear. But Flex would lay down on the ground, turn his back on you, put his head down. He didn't want to do it, but he would do the work. Yeah. He would do it, but you had to kind of like give him a big push to do it, and he reaped the benefits of it. he was only one example because I always thought he was going to be the next Mr. Olympia if it wasn't going to be me. So every chance I got with Flex, I wanted to take him into the deep end and try to drown him because it would make me better, right? So trying to get him to quit was like a big kick. Chris was always the strong one. So he was always going to try to put more weight on the bar. So I had to take the reps up and pick up the pace of the workout. And, we had these little tricks that it was very short-lived. I only trained with Flex for a little bit. I trained with Chris for a little bit. I like training with different people because it bring out a different side of me. And competitiveness of the training was what I live for. The actual show, not so much.
Yeah, I find that I like training with different people, but
and different gyms.
Yeah, and also when you've got a training partner, you have to drag, and it's sort of, you spend a lot of time, energy, motivating that person. It ruins your work.
No, I'd rather fight them. That's what I'm saying. Exactly. I didn't want to be anybody's training partner. I'd rather get them in there, silently turn up the heat on them. We're going to start off with leg extensions. We're doing 50 repetitions. 50 repetitions. Just count. We're not gonna. It's not open for debate. I'll lead.
Yeah.
So I'd set the pace a lot of times, but there was different challenges I'd have in the gym with different people, mostly strangers, that made me a better bodybuilder.
And back in the day, Shawn, you never had a coach, did you?
No, I had a mentor that introduced me. I think we all do.
John Brown was that?
At John Brown. At some point, someone's going to introduce you to this industry, right? And you want to be like them. You want to, try to get beyond what they were. And John was on a whole nother level than me. But I never had somebody, hey, call me up, go to the gym, tell me what to eat, how to do it. I figured it out, and it wasn't rocket science.
So how long did it take to figure out before you got? I mean, your first Olympia was 88. You got 13th place.
13th, but I did that. I got 13th because I wasn't ready.
You wasn't ready. You were doing a lot of traveling, was you?
A lot of traveling, but it took me, 4 years out of high school. I was on the Olympia stage. I graduated in 1984. I won the national championships in 1987, and in 1988, I'm standing there with Lee Haney.
So going from 88, because you did do 89, you went to third place in 1990.
Yeah, that was the year I failed the drug test.
But condition-wise, it was a great look for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think from the Ironman in 1990 where I qualified in February, and I think
you looked significantly better from September 88 to
90.
19.
Yeah, I think it has to do with the maturity process. I think it was like 22 to 23. And
that's young, that is, isn't it? Looking back at that, that's young.
The guys aren't that young anymore. But I had a good base, and I think what it was, when I didn't compete in 1989, I had a full year finally from 1983 when I started to actually just eat, sleep, and train because I was competing as a teenager.
And that was your best year of growth?
Yeah, in 1989, I was off. It was, and it showed when I won the Ironman because I beat Gary Stridham, I beat JJ Marsh and Vince Comerford. I think Tony Pearson was in that show. Mike Ashley was in that show. So I came out, and Mike had already won Detroit Pro Show, right? And I think he won the World Championships.
So Mike got second to you at the Arnold. No, he won the Arnold
after.
Yeah.
But at the Ironman, I got his ass. But I don't think he did the Olympia after that. I think that was the end for Mike Ashley.
I think he did one Olympia, didn't he? 87.
But it was before that.
Yeah.
And he never went back. He had some bad knees. But that 89 set the stage for 90. And then when I failed the test in 90, I knew I would have to go back to that Arnold to try to win it again, which I did. And once I won it, there was that validation. All right, 1990 I can put behind me. But remember, I still got third in the 1990 Olympia. And so I was going back in 1991.
Was that a funny year, the 1990? I mean, it was drug tested, so everyone sort of downsized for that year.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it because it just took one component that I didn't have to worry about out of the equation. And I thought it'd be a level playing field. I think Mike Christian probably didn't get the message because he looked bigger than he looked bigger than ever, but his legs just kind of held him back.
He must have used someone else's
but
sample.
Obviously Lee Haney, like Arnold in 1980, was not at his best, but he was still head and shoulders above everyone, and he still had better legs than Mike Christian. Mike just wasn't a threat to Lee Haney and myself. Me and Lee Labrada, I think we could have flipped a coin, and that's where I really believe, I can beat Lee Labrada in 1990. I thought that was close. I'll take third because, hell, that was a big jump from 13th.
So 1991, that was Lee's last year. Dorian came into the equation. He got second in it. Third place was Vince Taylor?
No, it was Labrada.
Lee Labrada.
Yep. Yeah. No. In 1991?
Yeah.
It was Vince Taylor.
Vince Taylor, yeah.
Labrada was fourth. I was fifth.
Yeah.
Sonny Schmidt was sixth.
Around that time, obviously, a lot of the people listening to this won't know, but the WBF came around.
Yeah.
Gary went over, shot over there. What were your thoughts? What was the industry like when this whole new phenomenon
No,
came
they took
over?
me over there too. They flew everybody out
Okay.
there to hear the conversation.
Yeah. I know Tom Platz was something to do
was
with that,
running
like
that.
athletes rep. Or
Yeah, and
whatever it
they offered my training partner at the time, Troy Zucolato, more money than me. And Troy in '89 won the Nationals, but he hadn't competed as a pro. And I just got that third in Chicago. That's where they made the announcement.
Mm-hmm.
And when they offered Troy more than me, it soured me. I was like, you're going to give him more than me just because he's bigger and I'm third in the world. You're offering him more? I'm out. So I wanted to be Mr. Olympia. I figured if that's going to stick around, I'll see what's happening next year because I think I was going to be Mr. Olympia, right? And Troy got $225,000 and $250,000.
That's good for
guaranteed.
Great money, guaranteed for 2 years.
one who's never been
Never stepped on a pro stage.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, you can't offer the guy that's never been a pro, and I'm third in the world more than me. This doesn't make sense. And if it starts off bad, it's going to end bad. And so I stayed and went on to win the Arnold Classic, and I got a raise from Joe Weider by staying. Joe was obviously wanted to keep his guys, so I got a raise. And then I got more work in '91. I was on another world tour, and that got in the way of getting ready for the Olympia for me. And I understood while I was a little smoother, I also understood we're coming off of the drug-tested year of 1990. I just wanted to beat Lee Labrada. That's all I was focused on. I'm going to run Lee Labrada down. I'm going to get his ass. And in '92, I looked significantly different, but I was still behind Lee Labrada. That's when Dorian won his first Olympia.
And got fourth, didn't you?
'93, I beat Lee Labrada, and I thought I made the best decision in the world. The WBF is gone, and they're done.
Yep.
And here I am, third in the world again, and I beat one of my idols in Lee Labrada.
What do you think that the WBF did wrong?
Well, they had the whole steroid trials right around that time too.
Yeah.
So Vince was under a lot of.
Well, actually, it was like this switch and bait. He said they weren't going to test.
Yeah.
These guys signed a contract, and then they had to test.
I remember seeing a video of Mike Quinn training for it, and like he was 6 months off season.
Yeah.
What those contracts did is they took away any incentive to be a better bodybuilder because the money was going to come no matter what.
That's right. I was going to bring that back to you. You said, you bodybuilded to be the best in the world.
Yeah.
When you saw your competitors, your colleagues, really, you're all competing for the same title, you think.
Yeah.
So you expect everyone to have that same
drive,
killer instinct, that same mindset. And you see people settling for the money, that must make you feel like I'm built differently to the people that
I was. Well, here's the thing. I wanted to be Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
I mean, what was the WBF? I don't even know what that title looked like. They don't have the farm place where like you can go and guest pose. They didn't have these guys coming up from the amateurs. And while it sounded good, it was just strictly entertainment bodybuilding. And I was an entertainer in terms of my posing.
Yep.
I wasn't a gimmick.
No.
Every one of those guys became a gimmick.
It was very gimmicky.
Yeah.
And
It's like wrestling at the time. You had to be a character.
And here's what they did. In part of that contract, what they wanted was everything that you had. Mike Christian owned the clothing line. You could no longer own that clothing line. They would own and distribute the clothing.
Was that crazy work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, I
was my stuff.
I was traveling the world. It was actually was platinum wear. Platinum everywhere.
I don't know my stuff.
Crazy wear was Gary Strider.
Yes, right.
You don't know.
There you go.
Just ask me. So they took away anything that you had. Like I had pictures, I had videos, I had T-shirts, and I was not allowed to sell them, and I also wasn't allowed to travel because there was nowhere to appear. That federation had no smaller shows for you to go guest pose. They had nowhere in the world to travel. And I was a world traveler. My passport was full.
Yep.
I was in the middle of a world tour. I just got third in the Olympia and you want to buy me? All right, well, all that other revenue I was making was going to be gone. And I was working with, I was sponsored by Gold's Gym. I was sponsored by Ruthless. Ruthless. It was Pro Fit USA Clothing, I think it was. I had a glove deal with Saranac Gloves. I had like 4 or 5 different sources of revenue that were with companies that the WBF would have
Was associated. Yeah, they weren't associated with them. They had, was it ICO Pro?
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah, ICO Pro. So anything I had, I could
Gone.
it was gone.
Any individuality was gone.
Yeah, and so to put that dollar amount on it, I think it was $200,000 and $225,000 for me. And that's like a paycheck. I was making cash, and I was making from different revenue streams, and it had nothing to do with the Olympia check, which wasn't that big. I think in 1990 I got
2000 was it?
Yeah, but I only got for third I got 18,000.
Okay, for first place it was 55,000, I think.
Yeah. So I decided collectively I'm not going to see the world if I go with these guys. I'm just going to wait and see what happens. And I stayed. I wound up winning the Arnold in '91. I wound up getting 5th in the Olympia, and I thought I'll be back. So They disappeared in 92. They were gone. And I had another 9 years in the top 5.
They paid Gary Stridon the most money, didn't they? For that?
Yeah, Gary had a 3-year deal for $400,000 a year, and they only lasted 2 years. So he had a really good deal, but he negotiated with that clothing line that he had, something to do with his clothing line. But you know what? You were placing based on your paycheck.
Yeah.
Gary had the biggest paycheck. He was first.
He's the poster boy for.
It was Mike Christian was second, right? I know Mike got $300,000.
Yeah.
Mike got $300,000.
There was talks for them to bring Lou Ferrigno in too, right?
Well, yeah, he pitted WBF against Joe Weider, and he wound up signing a 3-year deal with Joe. Yeah. And he signed for $250,000 3 years in a row. I mean, that was a pretty good deal. It was almost $1 million at that time, and Lou hadn't competed in 20 years.
Yeah.
He made his comeback 92,
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just after that.
How old was it, Lou, when he made his
42.
42.
He was 42
Still
years old.
relatively young.
Yeah. He
He looked good as well.
did. He wound up in 10th place that year, and I saw him after he did his posing routine.
He fell down
he slid down the stairs. He missed the stairs. It was in a hockey rink, and the stairs were all black carpet. We just missed a step, and boom, had a big raspberry on his hip.
Do you miss the Olympia going to different countries, or do you prefer it?
Yeah, I'd like it to move around again. I mean, we've been in Vegas, and I was part of that in 1999, bringing it to Las Vegas, which is where I thought that's where everything needs to be. Now we have grown so much. I think I'd like to see some division happen.
I think it will.
Yeah,
It will. You see with boxing, you see with the UFC. With
they did it. Saudi Arabia,
Saudi right now, and even big events in the UK.
We've got to be
just held with the Olympics.
Yeah,
but Dubai, they're putting up a lot of money for their pro show too. So
yeah, I'd like to see some movement.
Yeah, it'd be good to have it in Birmingham, wouldn't it?
think of promoting.
Yeah.
Maybe London. Isn't London bigger than this place?
London, it's expensive. London, it's very expensive, and it's.
I don't think that makes
the logistics traveling.
You think it's difficult to travel around Birmingham? No, it's 10 times harder with London.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Joe, have you got any questions for Sean? We had some.
Yes.
Where's my? Oh, this is a fast question.
Some fast fan questions.
These are the ones out of the blue. Yep, I'm a Virgo, born September 9th.
September 9th. Same birthday as my wife.
Here we go. Why shy type?
One thing you wish you knew when you first decided to get involved with bodybuilding?
Geez, I learned fat. I mean, literally, I was indoctrinated by one of the best in John Brown. There aren't a whole lot of secrets. I mean, this is like an education. I say this all the time. I say, listen, who would you rather have fly the plane? The guy that took the online 6-week course, or the guy that has been doing it for 10, 15 years, right? And the only way you can get from A to B is you have to do the time. So it's this bodybuilding sport. It's an education. I had the patience. I was coming off of football. I had a little minor injury playing football.
What position did you play?
I was a running back.
Oh, same as me then.
Hurting my knee. I had to concentrate on rehabilitating my knee and my legs. But I say all the time, this is a sport where you reap what you sow. You're going to get from it what you put into it. Not everyone's going to wind up going to the Olympia. That's a given. That's like picking up a basketball. Not everyone's going to the NBA. No. But if you're going to get better,
your best is your best, right?
You got to put in the work.
Yeah.
You got to put in the hours. I mean, if you talk to people that are truly great at whatever they do, Mayweather, Tiger Woods, Venus and Serena Williams, Kobe Bryant, Steph Curry, Barry Bonds, the other dude, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire. If you talk about what they've done and they're at the highest end, they literally got in and stayed in every single day. It's a daily grind. It's a daily practice. Bodybuilders, they fall off. They have good days, bad days. They feel like they've trained too hard. They feel like they're eating too much. I mean, it's a very individualistic sport. But for me, that grind, as soon as I picked up the weight, the idea that I was believing that I could be one of the world's best, potentially Mr. Olympia, I bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. And again, I always bring up Mike Tyson because he was indoctrinated with the belief from Cus D'Amato at 15. You're going to be the youngest heavyweight champion. It was literally instilled in his mind. Conor McGregor comes to mind with the way he talks. You believe it into existence. Now, mind you, I came up behind 3 of the greatest bodybuilders ever with Lee Haney and Dorian Yates and Ronnie Coleman. 22 consecutive years of Sandow trophies to 3 individuals. People, what would you do? What would you do differently? What could I do differently? Nasser couldn't do anything. Kevin couldn't. When we start talking about the world's best in bodybuilding, none of those guys could penetrate those 3 guys to win the Olympia. So what was I going to do? 5 pounds on me, 20 pounds on me, I don't think any of it would have made a difference because all of those guys were 5'10", 5'11". They're all 250 plus. And the bigger bodybuilders that I came up with couldn't do it. Judging wouldn't allow for someone as small as me to do it. So I have to be comfortable knowing that I gave my best, I did the best I could, and I made the right decision. But literally, there's nothing else that I could fast track my course to where I wound up in bodybuilding. I put in the work. Nobody's gonna get there on a shortcut.
No. Sometimes adding more muscle to your physique doesn't necessarily make it better, does it?
No. Muhammad bin Aziza comes to mind.
Exactly.
He had enough to beat Dorian Yates in 90, and he just put on too much, and it was like...
But even when Dorian went for 96 to 97, when he put on another 10 pounds, it
wasn't better.
It did better. It was a quality.
No.
So obviously, your fluctuations in weight over the years you competed wasn't that significant.
Very minor.
So you were consistent. You didn't blow up. Every year was very similar.
Yeah.
I think that's why you did so well.
Yeah, I kind of felt like don't fix what's not broken.
Exactly, yeah.
Stay with what got you here.
Exactly, yeah.
Speaking of that, 94 versus 96, Shawn.
94.
We suppose who wins?
That'd be great to see that visual, like someone put a collage together of those two routines. Because I'll tell you, 94, I felt more confident with victory. I thought, because I could see the wounds on the champion. Like, I could see that he was bleeding just a little bit, and the torn tricep or whatever.
The tan was off as well.
The tan was just milk. There's it looked like brown stuff just dripping off of him. And he looked like a heavyweight fighter, kind of got dazed, right? I had him on the ropes, and I just was so cocksure and confident with everything that I was doing from front to back, because I thought I set the stage in 93. My conditioning, I got it down. But I thought my routine would take me there. I was buying into what I was hearing after prejudging. I'm like, you like what you saw at prejudging? Wait till tonight when you see me pose. And I just got so much of the right vibe from people that weren't in my camp that I knew I was going to win the show. And so it took a lot of air out of the sails when I didn't. And you can imagine 95 when Nasser came along, I'm like, oh shit, I'm going the wrong way. So I did everything I could do to get back there in 1996. And things lined up in 96 that weren't there in 94. I know that in 96, for example, Flex Wheeler, I think he was coming off of winning the
96.
Did he win the Arnold, or was that Kevin?
Kevin won the Arnold 96.
Yeah. So Kevin, I had him on the ropes. I had Flex on the ropes. I had Chris on the ropes. I had Paul Dillette. They were riding me off because I got fifth. I did the Arnold Classic that year. I was fifth place. I remember. And they thought I was done. Yeah. And I did everything I could do to fight my way back up. And so getting that second place in 96 was strictly validation for getting fifth earlier in the year at the Arnold Classic. I thought I was going to win the the Olympia in 94.
I thought 94 probably edges 96. You still had the flat top.
Yeah, that helped, right?
If condition-wise, that was like... And you made... I remember seeing the comparison, you and Dorian, obviously, like at the front relaxed pose.
Yeah.
And that wasn't Dorian's best pose, was it?
No, but it wasn't. He's bloated.
But you standing there, you could see obviously how flat your stomach was, the detail, and you exploited Dorian's weaknesses in that pose, yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And, anybody can say you're just too small. I mean, they could say that about a lot of guys standing next to Dorian Yates.
That was 30 years ago. Can you believe it?
Yeah. 30 years ago. But the problem the problem I had with Dorian was just that I can see what was wrong with him, right? Yeah. We've seen better. So knowing that we've seen better and knowing that we could point out the flaws and things, I thought those are things that you take away from the champion. Had he lost on that day, who's arguing? Who's arguing? They would know why. He would know personally why he lost. The judges would know personally why he lost, because of this, because of that. And all those things would add up. Now, why did Shawn win? Well, I didn't have the problems that the champ had. So Dorian says that he won on certain individual poses. Yeah, you can win because you're bigger, but it's not just a contest.
I was talking to Jay Cutler the other night about Dorian, and I said, he didn't have the best chest, didn't have the best biceps, didn't have the best shoulders. His legs were good. Obviously, his back was incredible, but when he posed, everything came together.
Right.
So he knew how to pose, the compulsory poses. So that's how I think how he won, isn't it?
Yeah.
How it's put together.
I had to suck it up and buy into the idea that, look, this is a reigning, defending champion, number one. And it's hard to knock off the champion. In today's economy, that Olympia title, that title this year, it's up for grabs as far as I'm concerned. The title's changing hands every single year.
I think that's better for the fans, seeing a different champion.
It's good. Yeah. But I think it's more important that, not that it changes hands, but just that the right person would.
I agree. And that's all I ever fought for. Yeah. I fought for, just do the right thing.
Any more questions?
Yeah, quite a few.
Do one more and we're going to wrap it up. Cool. Shawn's hungry.
Yeah, look at me. I'm starving. I'm shrinking.
He's wasting away.
When putting a routine together, how many songs did you usually base it off?
You know, that was easy. That it just came down to finding. If you look at all of my routines, you could pretty much put any song behind it.
Did you put the routine together, then find a song? Or did you find the song?
I think that's probably kind of how. When I look back, it's kind of how it fell into play because I used my guest posing as an opportunity to improvise. Most of my guest posings were not choreographed routines. It was like play this song, and I'd go out there, and I knew how to hit the poses. I knew how to get from one pose to the next. I think what was good about my style was that it didn't change over the years, like songs. If you go to see Michael Jackson sing, what was the famous song that Michael sang? I'm getting old. Billie Jean.
Billie Jean.
You want him to sing it like the record. That's what you want. I want to see you sing it like the record that I fell in love with. I don't want you doing some other shit. So when I would guest pose, I would give them my routine, but I would try different songs. I posed to Prince. I posed to different artists out there. But as the competition came closer, I'd find something that I knew I can do the whole song. Most bodybuilders don't pose to the whole song. And I wanted to go out there, like start my music when I'm walking out or start it when I get to the center spot. And then I want the whole song to play. If you go back and YouTube this, 94, 1987. Jennifer Holiday. That was a 3.5 minute song. Most bodybuilders today, you're lucky to get a minute and a half.
Because then you win your pro card to that song, 87.
Did. And the posing time was only 90 seconds. And I posed a 3 minutes and 45 seconds.
And they let you post the whole song.
Yeah. So when I walked out, I made sure I told the guy, I said, I'm from California. This is a long routine. Do not stop the music. And when I came off the stage, you're like, still watching, you know? I mean, because there was some choreography to it. You don't want to stop a song in the middle of a good routine. And so I used that a couple of times as a pro, but all of my songs had meaning to me. And I thought if they mean something to me and I'm comfortable with the song, it didn't matter if I turn right or left. If I screw up, you won't know it. Only I would. And so I didn't want to change my posing style. And the one time I tried to change it in 93, I had Aerosmith kind of break things up. And I thought, let me try something different. I felt like a fish out of water because it wasn't my style. So I went right back to the love ballads.
Yeah, I hate it when you see you're on the pro stage and you see these bodybuilders and they haven't put any thought into the routine. They're doing side chest and they were
see what I'm thinking.
They're not clumsy and like, you know, God, this is the Mr Olympia. You should know your routine.
100%.
Don't even think about it. It should come like
natural, man.
Yeah.
And you know, again, my introduction was from one of the greatest posers of all time, John Brown. He emphasized that, look, the only thing you're going to have with this whole experience of training and dieting is that routine. And that's what you're going to be looking back on. And we didn't have YouTube back then, but he was smart enough to know there's videos out there that people share. And like an artist that signs his name to a painting, what they're going to remember is how you made them feel. And John was one of those guys like, I'm going to try to make him cry. You got to make him cry. Who's going to cry at a body? Watch the girls in the front row. He'd come out with roses and shit. Yeah, handing the girls, because it's about trying to connect with your audience.
It's a performance.
And I understood the performance aspect. I understood that, you know, the music selection is going to say something. So when people right now today hear Mariah Carey, My All, they think of my routine if they're in the bodybuilding industry. In the Air Tonight in 91, I posed to you know, Hunter Labrada was conceived at the 91 Olympia.
Was it?
Yeah. I don't know why I thought of that. I remember Lee Labrada told me that.
While that song was playing.
No, not while my song was on. I think after that.
It wasn't
after I performed. His dad said he was conceived at that weekend. But yeah, I mean, I hear music from other bodybuilders when I was coming up, and we're going back 30 years, and I could see them doing their routine.
Some of the routines, like from the 90s, I can remember
80s too.
From the music, but now in the last 10 years, I could remember any routines.
So I brag about not missing the Mr. Olympia, and I was there this past Olympia.
I don't remember one routine.
Not one song from one professional.
What did you think to Samson's Purple Rain last night?
I like that because he's a big guy, and I thought, you know, the only thing he was missing was the purple shorts. What's he thinking? He should have on the purple shorts. But no, I liked it because we got to see the big guy move nice and slow. He completed his posing. And there was some nice emphasis on transition, and you could see there was an effort by comparison to everyone else except for Antoine. Everyone else up there, they just phoned it in, right?
Did you like had his routine with the Iranian music?
I think I've seen it a few times, but again, I don't know what that song is that he's doing. But he's not connecting with me when he's doing it. Listen, I can see guys walk around hitting most musculars all the time, but I can only see it for like 30 seconds, and I tune it out.
Yeah, there's nothing more impressive when someone puts thought into a routine. It's choreographed. You know, it's.
I always think
you don't get that nowadays.
Bang Bang for Bob Harris.
Yeah, let me tell you something. a lot of the income that we derived back in the 90s was because people liked the way we posed. So I was in demand all over the world to guest pose. That was a nice revenue stream. These bodybuilders, I'm a promoter and I'm not hiring anybody to guest pose at my show because there's nothing impressive about what they're doing. And it's speaking directly in the camera to the bodybuilders. Own your work, pay attention to your art and go out there and entertain. It's not just a contest, it's a performance. And that aspect's got to come back if you want to get out there and
I think it is coming back more so with the classic guys.
Yeah.
You can tell they put the effort into the posing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wesley's routine on Friday night was really good. He did a little voiceover of his own as well. So he spoke over it.
People like
that it transitioned.
Isn't that funny?
Real
Bob Paris's routine to Bang Bang. Was that the one at what year was that at the?
That was 1989, I think.
Yeah, and so 1988 at the Olympia, I think he did Tracy Chapman or something.
Yeah, 88 Olympia.
Yeah, I mean, how far back we're going. We remember that shit. So what did Big Ronnie pose to? Give me Brandon Curry's song. He was Mr. Olympia.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, the best modern routine I've seen was Samson at the 2021 Arnold UK and his remembrance song to John Meadows. Yeah, that was good. It stuck with me because it was an emotional attachment. It was his expression was a little insight into what he was thinking about, what he was using as fuel for that prep.
Yeah.
So it sticks with you because you get an insight into the individual, not only just, here's the most muscular.
Samson did one where he paid homage to all the guys he was posing like me, Flex, Fritz. That's when he won the Arnold.
Yeah.
I remember because he put the effort in. These guys aren't paying attention.
Well, I think we need to wrap this up. Shawn, when can people get in touch with you if they want to book you for appearances?
To guest pose? I'm on Instagram at Shawn Ray IFBB Pro, and you can go visit my website at buildwithpros.com for your training advice, coaching advice, and motivation.
Shawn will also be at FIBO, and it's coming up. Shawn's got the Shawn Ray Hawaiian Classic.
Yes, November the 16th in Honolulu. You gonna come finally after 8 years? I mean, this guy goes everywhere but Hawaii. You come out to Hawaii, you may not want to come home.
I spoke to Kirsty. I said, "Babe, do you fancy going to Hawaii for this year?" She goes, "What? Someone got a show on there?
Someone have a show.
What have you got to do? You do a gym tour?"
Tell her to follow me on Instagram. Yeah. She'll see what's happening.
She already does.
Yeah. Well, we're adding pro men's physique, and we have the women's bikini. So pro men's physique has been added by popular demand because all the guys out there want to see the pros, and those are 2 Olympia qualifiers. It's an NBC national qualifier. We're giving each pro $10,000, which is I think the third prize money on the pro calendar being given out for that.
Yeah, so check Shawn out on Instagram, Facebook.
Yep, SR Hawaiian Classic on Instagram.
Okay. Shawn, thanks very much.
Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, mate.
Fast. Always.
All right.
I'll see you on FIBO.
Shaka.
Over out.